Hello, fellow world-class riders. So in today's video, I'm going to dive into the topic of what do you do if your horse is a tank? And by a tank, what I mean is, they're really strong, or maybe you have a draft horse or a cob type horse or something that's basically a bulldozer. They're big, they're strong, they're powerful, they know they're strong, they know they're stronger than you, and maybe they drag you around a little bit, whether you're riding them or leading them, or they see some grass that's really nice. So that's what today I'm going to be diving into. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a drafty type horse, like Haflinger ponies. Like, they're so small and cute and adorable, but they're chunky, they're solid. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with a horse that knows that they're stronger than you? And in my book, Speaking the Horse Language, I do talk about a lot of different horse types and horse personalities and things. So I'm not really going to be like diving into what's in this book exactly. But I do want to share some of the, I think, things which will really help you the most. And, this book, you can find it on Amazon, by the way. And it's, I dive into a lot of different things like, stallions versus mares versus geldings, or, all kinds of different types of horses and how we have to learn to speak their language. And so when it comes to these tanks, okay, these bulldozer type horses, the biggest thing that I'm going to talk about today is actually the fact that, and this might seem a little bit like common sense, but for some reason, all of us as equestrians, like, this is what a lot of us try and do first. Common sense wise, doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you guys doing that? But yet, that's exactly what you guys are doing. So the biggest mistake that I see people making is, hello, they try and be in a wrestling contest with their horse. If they're on their draft horse or their cob type horse, and their horse sees that lovely patch of grass, and their horse just kind of pulls them down and marches over to it, they start instantly trying to pull back and get their head up, and it becomes a strong contest. And guess what? You're not going to win. Okay, of course you're not going to win. They're stronger than us. And again, it seems like common sense, and yet for some reason, that's what equestrians are doing. And so how do we actually combat that? Okay, how do we win? And I want to say, especially, when you are a woman and we're riding in a man's world, I was competing a lot. If you notice in the high level, like show jumping, the further up you go, up the little pyramid or up the little ladder in the professional world of horses, there's fewer and fewer women. And so, when I'm riding the higher level show jumping horses or these types of horses, most of the time they're ridden by very strong men. And I was working in a lot of countries where the men are, let's say, macho. They're very macho. And so they would ride the horses very macho. So I'm on these big, huge warm bloods. They're ridden by big, strong, macho guys. And I want to say, as a woman, doesn't work. Okay, if I tried to ride those horses like the men did, I wasn't going to get very far in life. Okay, and I remember distinctly at one point, I think I rode a horse, a little tiny show jumping course or whatever, and I just remember that horse was dragging me around all of the jumps, and I was thinking I'm never going to ride a man's horse ever again. So I get it. I know what it feels like, but just know there are some tactics and techniques which you can use smartly. Okay, again, it's kind of that expression, what is it? Work smarter, not work harder. Okay, it's not about being strong, it's about being smart. Okay, so especially if you're a lady and it's a horse that was trained by some muscular macho guy, or if it's a big drafty type horse, there are things that we can do to ride them and ride them effectively, and oftentimes more effectively than the men who are just trying to muscle their way in. Okay, that kind of works for men sometimes, but I think in the long run, that's not really going to benefit them. So what are those techniques? Okay, some of the techniques which I'm going to explain, again, super simple. Okay, don't know why you guys don't think of this. Super simple, but very effective. So how do we outsmart our strong horses? And again, let's use that example of, you're on a drafty type horse, they see a patch of grass, and they just plow their way like little plow horses to go and eat that grass, and nothing you do seems to get their head up. Now, horses, how they work, their bodies are very long, their necks are very long, their head, like, if they're tanks, I mean, they're solid, right? Especially these drafty types or cob types who actually were designed to plow. The basic, like, anatomy of the horses is when the horse is on a straight line, okay? When their body, their head, their neck, and everything is on a straight line, there is absolutely nothing you can do. Okay, so that's it. Video's over. There's nothing you can do, and goodbye, everyone. Okay, but seriously, there is nothing you can do when the horse is on a straight line. So what does that mean? It means if our horse is straight and we're trying to pick their head up or we're trying to fight with them, okay, straight, we're not going to win. That's what it means. Okay, so what do we need to do? Well, the simple answer is you bend them. Okay, you bend them. So what does that mean? It means that you're going to bend their head. You're not pulling with two hands. You're just pulling with the one. I've been in situations. I was riding horses in Mongolia, and in Mongolia, I did the Mongol Derby. It's 1,000 kilometers on like 35 different semi-wild Mongolian horses. In the Mongol Derby, in this situation, when I had a horse that was bolting for 40K, because they will bolt for 40K at full speed, it takes 2.5 hours to go on a like full speed Mongolian horse about 40K, and you cannot, like, with one hand, I'm not strong enough to break that line, okay, to bend their head. So I would literally, I have no reins. I'm on the buckle because why? I mean, he's just running in a straight line. Where's he going to go? So what I did is I had no reins. I would take both of my hands, put them on one side. I would open my hand a little bit, and then with both hands, pull. And I had to kind of stand in the stirrups and lean up against it, not jerky. Okay, I'm not popping him in the mouth. I'm not punishing him. It's not his fault he's bolting 40K. Okay, but I'm just opening and I'm kind of guiding his head. And the second that the horse's head, even just a little bit, does that, you can then, break that line, basically. You can turn them in a circle. You can do some lateral flexion, I mean, depending on the horse. And that's how you win. Okay, now, not everyone is riding bolting horses in Mongolia, but again, in that example of let's take that drafty horse that sees that patch of grass and wants to stop at nothing to go and eat that, then what you need to do as the rider is break the line, okay, bend them. If you have to use two hands on the one side, fine. There's no rules. You're not going to win a dressage ribbon on that moment, but you know what? Your horse is going to go eat the grass anyway, so you weren't going to win, so who cares? Okay, it's not about that. Break their line, get them to bend their head even just a little bit, and then you can, go from there. As soon as the line is broken, you can then, trot them in a circle or put them in a totally different direction, or if you're out on a trail or you're doing this, start doing a serpentine, make a little figure eight. Like, you can then redirect their brain to something else and distract them so that they forget that they ever wanted that piece of grass in the first place. And consistently, if you do this consistently over enough period of time, at some point the horse is just going to know, like, ugh, I'm not even going to bother trying to eat that grass because every time I try, she outsmarts me. Okay, and then you're not going to have to be so dramatic and trot them in a circle or whatever it is. So that is the big concept here. And honestly, like, I'm going to keep it at that, because a lot of the times we try and fight with our horses. I see a lot of riders, they try and like bulldog, they ride like little bulldogs with their arms out to the side, and they try and strong arm their horse. That doesn't work. Okay, that never works. There's no scenario where that works ever. So, it doesn't matter if it's a normal horse, but it's just a bit strong, or if it's an actual, like, chunky tank, okay? Because horses physically cannot be strong, like, against us. They can't pull against us if we give them nothing to pull, okay? If they have nothing to pull, they can't be strong, right? It's like physics. So, most of the strong horses, it's because they have strong riders. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're drafts, has nothing to do with the fact that they're chunky. The first job I had when I was 15 years old, I worked with Percheron horses. These horses were 19. Some of them were 20 hands high. These were massive. And we actually had to weigh the horses, and they weighed over 2,000 pounds. Like, they weighed a ton, literally a ton. And they were professional carriage driving horses. And I was 15. I weighed like 100 pounds. I hadn't quite grown fully, so I was a little bit shorter. I remember I had to use a ladder just to brush these horses back. Okay. And for fun, one day I decided to ride one of these horses bareback, like just to say that I rode a percheron. And I want to tell you, this horse was like riding on a unicorn. Okay. It was very soft in my hands, very light, very gentle. There was no issue with steering. I mean, this was a professionally trained like carriage competition horse. And so, I'm 15. There's no way I'm going to out wrestle this horse. There's no way I'm going to be stronger than this horse. And guess what? I was able to ride this horse just fine. So just because they're a draft horse, or just because they're built like a tank, or they're built like a plow horse, or whatever, does not mean that they're strong. The horses that are strong because they were taught to be strong. Okay, they were taught to be strong because their riders are pulling on them. So don't give them anything to pull against. So that little technique that I just taught you a minute ago about how to break the line, and kind of get the control in a smart way, that's what you do when the horse is already strong and you feel like, again, in that situation where he's diving for the grass or he's doing something where you feel like out of control. But the real solution, the real solution to this problem of my horse is a tank or my horse is strong, is to just not pull on your horse. Okay, teach your horse to be soft. Teach your horse to be light. You teach your horse to be light and you teach your horse to be soft by you yourself as the rider being soft and being light, riding with your seat, riding with your legs, riding with your breathing, with your breath. Okay, that's where the whole speaking the horse language comes in. Like, this whole book revolves around your breath and being able to ride your horses and work with them without anyone else like even knowing that you're talking to your horse, because it's you and your horse communicating. It's so subtle, their language. Like, the most tank, beefy, Clydesdale type horse you could imagine is going to respond to this. Like, that's the whole point. So, hopefully this has been helpful. I just wanted to, again, I don't want to make this a long topic, because honestly, it's as simple as that. Okay. Don't give them anything to pull against, and break the line if you need to in an emergency situation. So yeah, we have someone that says, great topic. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you enjoyed this. Let me know if you guys have any questions, comment, even if you're watching the replay, even if, you missed the live version of this, comment. I always reply to all of the comments, and I love to hear from you guys. Today's topic was because somebody asked me. They said they have a draft horse and they don't know what to do. Okay, so without you guys commenting and messaging, I'm going to probably get bored running out of topics, yeah? So thank you guys so much. And if you want to get a copy of the Speaking the Horse Language book, you can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, pretty much anywhere. And yeah, thank you so much. And I will see you guys next week.